Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Three Technique, the college football podcast at the intersection of the X's and O's and the Jimmies and the Joes. I'm Mitch Mason, joined by a very special guest, one that I'm sure you're very familiar with, Brett Ciancia, the author of Pick Six Previews, the single most accurate college football preview magazine over the last decade. Brett, you have blown up in these last several years, not only for your magazine, but obviously the analysis, the accuracy with which you conduct your business. And tonight, I'm thrilled to introduce you to the Jimmies and the Joes here on the podcast.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me on. It's an exciting time of year. It's magazine season. It's the 14th annual edition of Pick Six Previews. And yeah, I mean, you guys are really rising up the charts here in terms of the college football podcast landscape. So I recently caught wind of you guys and reached out, and I'm glad you guys had me on. So the honor is here. I can't wait to talk and break the season down with you.
Perfect, man. Well, yeah, we've got a fun episode here tonight, a mini episode, if you will. And basically, when you and I started talking, I was figuring out, okay, you cover the national landscape, the Power Four at such a precise level. What are the questions that I still have about the season? I mean, we've written a preview for 136 teams. We've done all of this analysis, 30 plus podcasts breaking down the season, and yet I wanted to know from you basically your confidence meter in several of the teams that you have towards the top of the national landscape, playoff picks, etc. So, with that in mind, I think let's start at the very top of your ranking system. And you released your preseason AP, or you released your preseason poll and kind of gave your thoughts on that. Penn State is towards the top of your poll as well as they're going to be for just about everybody. So, can Penn State finally break through this year with all the returners, with all the hype, with Drew Aller coming back? It feels like a lot is resting on the shoulders of those guys up in Happy Valley, but it also feels like this has to be the year, yeah?
Yeah, and they're following a similar pattern to what we saw from Michigan in 2023 and Ohio State in 2024, and that is right around January when it's NFL draft decision time, whether these middle round guys and late round guys are going to try to go pro early or if they're going to return to college for an additional year. You saw them all come back to Michigan, they all came back to Ohio State last year, and they won national titles. So with Penn State, it was happening here again, and I know they lose Abdul Carter. He was the third pick in the NFL draft, but really besides him, a lot of guys came back. I mean, this is a star-studded group. You start there at quarterback with Drew Aller. Of course, everyone remembers his last pass of the season, the unfortunate interception there to lose against Notre Dame. Otherwise, it was a pretty sound season actually, and they opened up more of the vertical passing game with coordinator Andy Kotelnicki, and I think that's going to be back again. The five-star running back pair of Singleton and Allen, it's kind of going to be a Mark McGuire, Sammy Sosa kind of contest here because they're going to be competing with each other for the all-time Penn State school rushing record in the same backfield. You'd never see that, but these two guys have accumulated so many yards. Just two weapons there at running back. The offensive line, four starters back. All four are on the All Big Ten team. That's unheard of. So you love what you have on offense. Defense goes without saying. The way that James Franklin continues to reload a defensive coordinator and once again, five defenders on my All Big Ten team. So again, loaded there. So you love the veteran roster, you love the star power, but really what put me over the edge with Penn State this year is the brain power at coordinator. People start to question James Franklin at times, but you can't question how he can compile a staff. And I talked about Kotelnicki there calling the offense. It's now his second season. I like seeing a second-year coordinator bonus. And then on the defense, they went out and poached Ohio State's mastermind, Jim Knowles, who just led them to a national title. So, again, veteran team, star power, a lot of future pro players, and the brain power at coordinator. I'll leave you with this, too, is when they are the favorite, when they have the talent advantage, they're number one in the country the last 3 years. Straight up, 34-2, and number one in the country the last 3 years against the spread as the favorite. They're covering 74% of the time. So I think they're going to have the talent advantage in at least 11 games. Probably the Ohio State game in Columbus will be a toss up, but otherwise, they take care of business. They're going to be winning the conference and making a deep playoff run.
Well, your top pick and top team in the preseason here. They're my top team as well. But for the folks that continue to dog on Drew Aller, that continue to question if he's got the ability to lead a championship contender and pay off a national championship, even a conference championship for the Friends at Penn State. Do you expect Penn State to throw the ball down the field a little bit more and be able to stretch that field with everybody that they've brought in this receiving core?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I know that Drew Aller takes a lot of heat from the national media. You got to look at that receiver room last year. They weren't really helping him out much. I know in that Notre Dame playoff game, not a single receiver even caught a ball. It's unbelievable. It shows you why they had to run so much of that offense through Tyler Warren, the Mackey winner, and now obviously pro player. But yeah, so they found their weakness. It was receiver, and they went out and absolutely attacked it in the transfer portal. They brought in USC's number one guy, Kyron Hudson, a big possession receiver. Brought in Devontae Ross, a speedster from Troy. And I know that's a lower level, but you can't fake foot speed. I mean, we saw how fast this guy is. He's a burner. He's going to extend them vertically. And then after spring ball, got a nice boost by bringing in an All ACC candidate, Treber Pena from Syracuse, a slot receiver. So I like that big three that they brought in. They also have a couple blue chippers there, younger guys at receiver that might just develop into stars. So Caden Saunders is a top 100 guy. Luke Reynolds, a 5-star. There's a lot in that room, a lot of potential. So I think what you have now is better support at the receiver spots for Aller. You're going to see more wide open throws, and he's going to nail them. So that's what I like about Penn State. I mean, there's a lot to like, but that's specifically what.
Very selfishly just thrilled to hear that breakdown, to hear Penn State very high on your list, atop your list, in fact. Let's go to another team that is drawing all the headlines this offseason, and Arch Manning leading the Texas Longhorns into 2025. It is finally his time to ascend to the throne, seemingly on the 40 acres. His Heisman odds continue to improve. He's right now the favorite, and those odds continue to see money come in on him. Talk to me about Arch in context of this Texas roster. It doesn't feel like Arch has to be a Heisman winner for Texas to pay off championship aspirations, but do you feel like in year one that he can just step in and run Steve Sarkisian's offense at an elite level?
Well, I don't think you're going to find any other quarterbacks trained as comprehensively as a Manning. I mean, he's gone through all, I mean, with his family, all those camps, all that private one-on-one training. I mean, this guy's very advanced, even though he's only a sophomore there at Texas. Got some playing time last year. I think he started a couple games, got a lot of situational work. The stats were good. I know it was against some weaker teams, but what I like about him is he brings some foot speed to the position, some mobility to the position where Texas struggled a lot in the short yardage game at times last year. Goal line, third and shorts. This is where Arch with his legs, I think, can make a difference. He can tuck the ball on a scramble on third down and get you. I don't think Quinn Ewers was going to provide that last year. So I think the mobility helps out. He's going to have a lot of wide open receivers, too, all the 5-stars in that room. I do have questions with Texas, though, and it's not really about Arch. It's a couple of questions I have is reloading the offensive line with 4 starters departing. And even statistically, they weren't that strong on the offensive line last year. I was shocked to see this. So that's a question. Defensively, too, I mean, you send 3 defensive linemen to the pros, and you lose the Thorpe winner in the secondary, Jade Barron, a guy that did so much in coverage. So, I mean, yeah, they have to reload just like everybody else. I know we knock on Ohio State and Georgia and Alabama about losing all their stars every year. I mean, Texas is now on that tier. So, yeah, have they recruited really well? Yes, but it's still new faces. So, yeah, there's questions all over the place for Texas. They're backfilling it with 5-stars, which is nice. They got All American candidates obviously everywhere too. But yeah, they're my pick to win the SEC despite all the questions. I think that their roster talent is amazing. I mean, they have 11 5-stars on their 2 deep. So I like what they have stockpiled in Texas. I think they've been close, and this is their chance to break through.
So you have Texas kind of getting to that ceiling of becoming an SEC champion this year. I'm wondering if they're maybe 1 year away, but with winning the SEC championship game and breaking through in your mind, is this team capable of winning a national championship and being the final team standing in college football?
It's definitely possible for them, and you can probably say that for what 7 or 8 teams tops that you can really see them go in the distance in a long bracket. And I say that because the formula has shifted here a bit. I mean, I started Pick Six previews in 2012, and if you think back to then, it was a simpler time. We had a BCS, we had something called the Big East and the Pac-10. It was all regional still. But long story short, you had to go undefeated. You had to be 13-0, maybe a rare 12-1 with a conference championship to make it into the national title. So that calculus has changed. Now you're talking about You just got to survive enough in the regular season, go 10-2 or better, and then the real deal is you got to survive a long bracket. And this bracket is packed with the other, all the other 5-star recruiters. They're going to be matched in talent and in depth. So I think the teams that can go the distance are the ones that have all that 5-star depth. And Texas fits the mold. I mean, you could argue Texas, Bama, Georgia, and Ohio State. Those are your top recruiters every year. And I say depth because over 16 games, you're going to have a couple key injuries. So, I mean, if you lose a couple linemen, do you still have 5-stars backfilling? And that's very rare in college football nowadays. But Texas has that kind of depth. Now, we'll see if they can get over the hump and beat Georgia and beat some of these top-notch teams. They were really close last year. They had Ohio State at the goal line there, first and goal at the 1, and that would have tied up the game. Could have flipped the whole script of the season. So they're close. I think they're knocking on the door, and they have enough depth to make a run.
It'll be nice to see the Texas backfield healthy again this year. Baxter should be back. And I mean, you mentioned it. The short yardage killed Texas in a number of key spots last year. I think being able to run the ball, convert those third downs, convert those scores on the goal line certainly goes a long way to helping the Longhorns achieve those championship dreams. Let's stay in the SEC. And you mentioned Georgia just a minute ago. My next question takes us between the hedges and to the home of the Tide. If you had to pick one team between the University of Georgia and the University of Alabama, which of those two teams do you feel most confident in winning the conference and having a chance to be the final team standing this year?
Yeah, a lot of people are going Georgia here. I'm going Alabama. And there's a couple reasons why. I think that last year, of course, was a transition year. You've taken over for Nick Saban, the absolute legend of a generation in terms of coaching, all the national titles, all the glory. But that was bound to be a transitional year, and it happened. So looking forward to 2025, it's the second year for Kalen DeBoer. I like that too because he brought along his coordinator, Ryan Grubb, and this was the mastermind behind that Michael Penix Washington national title run 2 years ago. I think now with Grubb in the fold, you're really getting the full DeBoer experience. This is what you signed up for. You signed up for this offense, this play calling, this scheming. And this time around, they get to choose their starting quarterback. I like Jalen Milroe in certain spots, very athletic. But I think that these three quarterbacks they were picking from, they probably fit the offense better. And it sounds like they've gone with Ty Simpson. You can't go wrong in that room. There's two 5-stars and another top 100 kid, Austin Mack. So they're loaded there. So anyway, I like the coordinator move. I like the second year bonus. What I really like, similar to my Penn State answer, is a lot of Alabama players came back for a final year here in Tuscaloosa. Normally you watch the NFL draft, you see 10, 12, 13 Bama picks. This year only 5, and I think they're all back on that defense in Tuscaloosa. So when I look at it, they're still the number one 5-year high school recruiter. They're number one in terms of 5-stars in the two deep. They've got 13 of them, which is incredible. And they're number one in next year's mock NFL draft picks. I know it's early for a mock draft, but still something I consider. And they have 15 mock draft picks already for 2026. So super talented team. Second year coordinator bonus. I like them to go over their 9.5 total and sleeper to win the national title. It's funny calling Alabama a sleeper, but that's where we're at nowadays.
I love that. We did our SEC preview a couple of weeks ago, and I kind of feel the same vibes. I feel like folks are sleeping on Alabama, which just seems like a mistake until proven otherwise. Is there, everybody's going to talk about Ty Simpson, who's been, likely to be named the starting quarterback. It sounds like Ryan Williams, obviously out wide. Is there another player or even position group that you look at and you go, if Alabama is to win the SEC, is to compete for a national championship, this is where they're going to have difference makers?
Yeah, well, I do have to give Ryan Williams a nice plug here because I was down in Tuscaloosa for the Alabama Georgia game last year, and at the time I think it was a top 5 matchup. They're both in the top 5, and the spin move, jump spin that he put on his final touchdown was unlike anything I've ever seen in my life watching college football. It was unbelievable. Stadium erupted. They said it was. I mean, people my age were there. They were saying it was the best Alabama home game they've ever been to in their generation. So it was insane. So he's a first team All American for me, maybe even a roulette chip to win the Heisman. But position group that stands out to me outside of him, I'd have to go with this front seven on defense. I just hit on it where all these guys, a lot of these guys could have gone pro and they came back. It's a very old veteran front seven. And these guys are all former 5-stars. It's like a conveyor belt of blue chip players. LT Overton, Tim Keenan, James Smith, all there in the trenches. Deontay Lawson somehow still in college. He's back again.
Right.
It's just loaded. So I think you're going to see this. the physicality from this front seven on this defense just overpower some teams. So I'm excited to see it.
I love it, man. Very excited to see what the Tide has. The old new offensive scheme with Ryan Grubb coming back, I think is going to be a huge difference maker as well. So beware of the Tide, no doubt about that. Last item in the SEC that I have for you, you have Texas, Alabama, and Georgia inside your top 10, but there's a fourth SEC team that made that as well, and it's the LSU Tigers. Now, if you've watched Any Given Saturday, or if our listeners have watched Any Given Saturday, you can obviously tell how much that Brian Kelly wants to win and wants to break through at LSU. This is obviously a pivotal season with the history on the line, the expectation of, hey, every coach in the last 2 decades has won a national championship in this season in Baton Rouge. Talk to me about LSU, who certainly has an amazing roster, but they've just had one thing or another go wrong these last couple of seasons under Brian Kelly, and it seems like it's got the temperature turned up on his seat. So you're high on LSU. Give me the lay of the land in Baton Rouge.
Yeah, well, I think the pressure's on. I think you're right about that. LSU is not a place where they're patient. I mean, and rightfully so. They have so much talent stockpiled within their state. Their high school recruiting in the state is talent is per capita some of the most talented in the country, and they keep them home. They really retain that homegrown talent really well. So you see LSU spike up every few years as a national title contender, and I think this is their time. Here's why: because they invested a ton in several different ways. First off, last cycle they hired what was then considered the highest paid coordinator in college football history, Blake Baker. And now you're entering his second year. There was a little bit of a gain last year, but injuries kind of tampered that. I think this time around, you're really going to see the Blake Baker defense. And then additionally, in the transfer portal, you know how expensive these five-star transfers are in the NIL game, and they went out and they signed the number one transfer haul in America. So they're going all in financially. They're really committing to this 2025 team, not only with the transfers, the coordinator, but also retaining a lot of guys from the pros. So, yeah, I like it. I think you have a proven quarterback with Garrett Nussmeier. These receivers also are proven from other schools. They were starters at the Power Four level. Barry and Brown is an ace kick returner, really elusive guy there. Aaron Anderson's back from last year, obviously. And yeah, they have some questions of the offensive line turning over. But this defense, I talked about Blake Baker, great coordinator, a lot of playmakers. Harold Perkins is a guy. He was injured most of last year. He was an All-American a couple years ago. Could be one of the best players in the country, any position, and he's going to do it all for this defense. So, yeah, I think there's enough talent here to consider them a playoff caliber team. And I think four SEC make it this year, and they're my pick for number four. You could look at other ones like A&M and Florida and Oklahoma if they get through absolute gauntlets of schedules, but I like what LSU has, so I'm going with them for the final at-large spot in the bracket.
I read this note the other day that I can't remember if it was Brian Kelly or Blake Baker, or maybe both of them, sat down with Harold Perkins, star linebacker, and said, "Where do you want to play this season?" Right? There was that controversy, I guess, last year and even a little bit 2 years ago, where his freshman year he just rushed the passer. He was just the best athlete on the field, right? And then it felt like he tried to play traditional linebacker and tried to learn that position instead of just going after the passer. And so when they asked him, "Where do you want to play?" his initial response supposedly was, "Well, coach, I'll play wherever you want." And then when they pressed him again, "Where do you want to play?" he said star. And I think that is truly going to be his best position. I think if LSU's defense, to your point, is going to take that second year leap with Blake Baker, which it absolutely should, an ace of a defensive coordinator, I think having Harold Perkins get to do what he does best and just go be an athlete, go get after the passer and disrupt the ball carrier, I think is going to be an amazing watch down there in Baton Rouge. So I like the pick. I'm wondering about that offensive line, but gosh, if they can get over that, if they can protect Garrett Nussmeier, Tigers might finally pay off those championship aspirations that have been building under Brian Kelly. Let's move over to the Big 12. And Brett, this is the conference that year in and year out, I just have the most fascination with. Number one, because I don't know that anybody really knows what's going to happen, right? I mean, last year is the pinnacle example of that, where Arizona State is picked dead last in the media poll. They go last to first. They make the college football playoff, and the Big 12 gets rid of the media poll in response. This year, though, when I do my projections and my simulations, and we've got our Big 12 projections coming out tomorrow in graphic form, actually, I can find a world where there are four Big 12 teams that have 10 wins. So I think the path is certainly with some easier schedules could be there for the Big 12 to get maybe a couple of playoff bids. In your projection, your model, how many Big 12 teams do you have making it to the final dance?
Well, I think you have a really deep conference. Talking to head coaches, talking to coordinators within the league, and at the end, I ask them about some opponent scouting, who they're looking at, and you can get 8 different names for who's the top team in this conference. Some of them even said there isn't a top team; it's a whole just upper tier of like half the conference. So, and you see that reflected at the media days. I know they canceled the media poll, but the coaches still did a poll, and coaches had Kansas State and Iowa State at the top. Neither of those two are in my top five in this league. I had them 6 and 7, so it is completely wide open. Probably the most wide open I've ever covered in 14 years of Pick Six previews. So all that to say, I see the conference getting one playoff team. I think they're going to beat each other up. It is a 9-game conference slate, unlike a couple other conferences. So that's another round of infighting, of in it's going to be crucial, some of these non-conference games, too. SMU plays two of them. They play Baylor and TCU, both teams I have contending. That's going to be tough. And Baylor opens up with Auburn, another top 25 caliber team. That's an SEC opponent, but so the non-conference is going to go a long way to see if they can get two bids. I just see the team emerging from this cluster of contenders being a 10-2 and really just one 10-2 team. I don't think a 9-3 runner-up is going to make it. Even a 10-2 that loses the Big 12 title game and results in a 10-3, I don't think that would make it either. So I think you need a pretty specific case for it to happen. I would love to see it happen. Look, I love this conference. Like you said, it's wide open. But not more than that is the fan passion is certainly there. I'm a guy. I just love the. I don't care about the TV numbers. I don't care about the TV contracts. I want to see stadiums that are rocking. I want to see fan bases online that care, and the Big 12 cares. Just turn on a Utah or a BYU game. The camera literally shakes on big plays. It's so crazy in there. You don't find that in the ACC. Half of this ACC conference are empty stadiums with the big corporate sponsorships, bank logos on the field. So totally different vibe. I love this Big 12. Who I'm going to go with? I'm going Arizona State versus Texas Tech. Arizona State's your defending champ, and it wasn't a fluke per my numbers last year. They graded out pretty well in the advanced stats, the advanced metrics, bring everybody back except obviously the big bowling ball at running back, Cam Scatterbo. And then Texas Tech is a little bit of a gamble, but they went out and signed the number 2 transfer haul in the country, right behind LSU. They rallied all that West Texas oil money and brought in 12 blue chippers. That's more than the rest of the conference combined. So I love the talent influx of Texas Tech. So that's my 2. I could probably argue 5 more. That's the beauty of it. But I can't wait to watch this conference.
It's gonna be absolutely wonderful. That's amazing information to know that you're a little bit lower on Kansas State, Iowa State. Certainly two teams that I think their rosters are in good shape. They have a high ceiling, but they do have that reputation of stubbing their toe pretty routinely on a year-to-year basis, and oftentimes dropping games that just don't really make sense. So championship contenders in as competitive a conference as the Big 12 is certainly have to get over that. Brent, I'm going to throw one more question at you and take you over to the ACC. In your preview, you've got Clemson and Miami making it to the 12-team field. Clemson's pretty self-explanatory, but talk to me about the Miami hype, why you feel like they finally paid off this year.
Yeah, well, when you look across the landscape of this conference, you're not finding many top recruiters. You're not finding many transfer halls that you find in the SEC or the Big Ten, except for Miami. They really stand above everybody else here, head and shoulders above everybody else in this conference in terms of talent acquisition. So you look at it, they're a top 10 high school recruiter, a top 10 transfer recruiter. That's a rare combination, especially in this league. So I like first off with him is all the talent that's brought in. I think it's undeniable. They're NFL talent. A lot of guys placed on it's called the East West Shrine Bowl 1000. Basically, what that is, it's like an NFL draft watch list. They figure that 250 players are drafted. Another 750 are either free agents or invited to rookie mini camps. Long story short, I mean, almost this entire starting lineup for Miami is on that watch list. So they and Clemson lead in that category within the ACC. They're a bit more of a mystery than Clemson. We know what we have with them. It's like the entire team is back and a lot of proven guys. Miami, a lot of new faces, but a higher ceiling than I'm going to find anywhere else in this conference. So that's why I sided with Clemson and Miami. I think Clemson's your proven pick. Miami is just a sheer talent play. I like their coordinator move they made on defense, bringing in Heatherman from Minnesota. They're starting over at quarterback, which is concerning, moving from Cam Ward to Carson Beck. To bring up that game I was at again, the Georgia-Bama game, Beck, he threw 3 picks in the first half. He looked awful. Second half, he looked like a Heisman winner, leading that crazy comeback. So he's hot and cold, a little bit of a concern. But, with Crystal Ball, he knows how to build an offensive line. That'll be strong again. So that's pretty much the pick there. It's, everyone knows Clemson. With Miami, that was just a talent play. I love their offensive line, and I think they're going to be fine. From there, the conference to me really drops off. I was really struggling to pick a third team here. Ended up, tying it between Georgia Tech, Louisville, and Florida State. So Clemson, Miami, not only my 2 top 10 ACCs, the only 2 in my whole top 25 nationally.
I love it, man. I love it. Certainly an interesting conference. I think we are also hoping that we see some teams kind of define that upper echelon of the conference, maybe Duke, Georgia Tech. I know we're personally high on those teams and just quite frankly have a vested interest in them because we enjoy the brands of football that they're building on those respective campuses. Brett, this has been amazing. We appreciate you stopping by. For those Jimmys and Joes that, for whatever reason, have never purchased your magazine, tell them where they can get it.
Yeah, well, I'm excited to meet all the Jimmys and Joes. I like it. It's been great coming on, breaking down the season. If you like it, go check out pick6previews.com, at pick6previews on Twitter. It's a college football preview magazine, and the claim to fame is it's number 1 in prediction accuracy the last 10 years and the last 5 years. If they're keeping score, I want to win the title, and I've done that. So, go check it out. I have sample teams up there. We got testimonials. I try and strike a balance between the advanced numbers, but really putting it back into a readable form. Talking to head coaches, talking to coordinators, learning about every position group, and putting it into a readable format. I think that's key. So, go pick it up. We also have it in digital form. We have the hard copy, spiral bound magazine copy. Also new this year, we have what's called Pick 6 Plus. And what that is it's all the same information you get in the magazine, but updated every Tuesday in the fall. Projections, picks, all these Vegas situational spreads you want to see. How's a team off a bye week? How's a team as a favorite? All that. So go check that out too. But yeah, thanks for having me. I can't believe it's already mid-August and we're almost week 0 time, and the off season flies by, but that's a good thing. Here we go. Getting ready to kick it off.
Yeah, it has flown by. We're in the final stretch, which I'm so excited about. You mentioned those testimonials, brother. I'll give you one more. Jimmy's and Joe's. We've hosted the show for over 4 years now. They know I do not recommend things very often because so much of it is clickbait. I don't have all of these subscriptions because, quite frankly, I don't think most of them are worth it. I buy your magazine, and I truly appreciate it.
Thank you.
The writing, the analysis is fantastic. So, yes, absolutely. If anybody's not picked that up already, first of all, what are you doing? We're so close to week 0, but secondly, go get that. It will keep you entertained and informed well into the season. So, really appreciate you stopping by, Brett.
Oh, thanks so much for that testimonial. Yeah, that's the only one you guys need. I appreciate that. Next day shipping too. I know we're getting close to kickoff, but that thing will get in your mailbox in a day or two. I guarantee it. So go check it out. And yeah, cannot be more excited to be on with you. And thanks for having me.
Perfect. All right, guys. Well, we appreciate you stopping by, listening to tonight's episode. If you are new here, if you found us through this episode, like and subscribe. We'd love to have you join the Jimmys and the Joes this year. Plenty more content coming up all season long. And for Brett Ciancia, I'm Mitch Mason. Thanks so much for hanging out with us. Until next time, so long, everybody.